and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of Sweet Bit Radio. Today, we are going to be talking about the proposed Kiss movie from 1979, and that is entitled Behind the Mask of Kiss. And I don't have to do any introductions on this episode because I did the introduction to the podcast on the first episode last week. So if you haven't listened to that, go check it out. We talk about Kiss Nation, the often forgotten third Kiss comic. And before we get into this podcast, I gotta give a shout out to someone who is not, I repeat, not sponsoring this podcast yet. However, if they want to sponsor this podcast, they are more than welcome to. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that sweet good that is known as Gene Simmons Moneybag Soda. You know I drink it all the time. You know I go to my local Rocket Fizz and I pick up 8 to 12 bottles of that sweet bottled up good every week. And before we start this episode of the podcast, let's go ahead, let's grab our Moneybag Soda and let's take a sip of it. All right, people. So let's just jump right into this topic. So, before we start the actual topic of the movie, let's just look back real fast about the year that Kiss had from 1978 basically to 1979, coming off a huge world tour. And then there's Kiss Phantom of the Park, there's the solo albums coming out, and then there's the Return of Kiss by 79, and there's also the smash hit single that comes out with the Return of Kiss, and that was I Was Made for Loving You. Now granted, this is not a, I guess, quote-unquote, typical Kiss release at the time. I mean, if you look at Love Gun to Dynasty, or even the bonus tracks on Alive 2 and Dynasty, they're just so different. Dynasty is just such a different sounding record for the time. And basically, Kiss was Super Kiss, as we all know them. I mean, look at the costumes, look at the stage show. They were basically wanting to become larger than life, and at this time they were. However, them wanting to push the envelope seemed to also push away the core Kiss audience, if you will, the teenagers, the older ones. It was no longer cool by 79 to like Kiss per se. It was more of a family attraction, and I feel like the movie that we're going to talk about today only fuels that family attraction persona. So, you know, Kiss had obviously not Kicks. We're not talking about Kicks. Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. And that came out to lukewarm reception at best. It was not I guess it was a fairly big hit, just for a TV movie. However, laughably bad, and it's a cult classic now. So basically, like we just said, Kiss are trying to fuel up the Super Kiss image, and they had Dynasty, and obviously started working on Unmasked, and during, I would say around that time frame, after the release of Dynasty, which was May 79, I believe, up till, I guess 1 year later, because Unmasked released in May 2, I believe, of 1980. That's kind of where this movie falls into place. So basically, the proposed Kiss movie known as Behind the Mask of Kiss, it's a really unique, I guess, concept for the time. It's basically just like one big long music video. And later on, we will talk about what music video I think that this proposal influenced. But the concept of the film follows around this girl. Her name is Claudia, and she's an American. And she is going to go visit her friend in Europe, and her name is Ingrid, and they are going to be staying at Ingrid's house. And I believe in the proposal, Ingrid's parents are out of town, so it's just Claudia, Ingrid, her grandmother, and then like a housekeeper and a limo driver. And again, a link to this proposal will be put in the description, and a link to the proposals already at the end of the blog. So go ahead and check this out. And before we go any further, just huge shout out to the admin at KISS FAQ, who has the historic document library. It is amazing. I've wasted so many hours there, and that has just really fueled the research for these obscure topics I'm trying to cover, because it seems like even though this information's out there now, a lot of people still don't know about it or don't care to look at KISS FAQ to look for it. So please, if you're listening to this, listen to the podcast and then go to KISS FAQ and then just lose yourself in the KISS historic documents section of the discussion board. But anyway, back to the story. So, as I said, Claudia is going to go visit Ingrid in Europe. And basically, while the two girls are out on the town, they see this contest for a... whoops. We gotta silence your phones during this, people. So basically, they notice this contest, and the contest is to see KISS without their makeup for like a little personal appearance. And this intrigues the girls, and they're getting ready to sign up for the contest. Ingrid's brother becomes involved and I guess kind of mocks them. And then they have to wait to fill out the form until Ingrid's brother and his friends leave. So after filling out the form, Claudia and Ingrid are watching a KISS concert on the television. And this only fuels their ambition to see KISS without their makeup. So basically the two girls just sneak off and start going around Europe, basically becoming groupies almost for KISS. They follow them to their next destination, and it's not disclosed. And by the time, I guess there's some mishaps, and there's a lot of holes in this proposal too, kind of time frames, and just kind of like, you can tell it's a very rough draft because not a lot of things are explained in it. But the girls make it to the arena where KISS are playing. However, they get there late, and as everybody's leaving, Claudia and Ingrid are trying to get backstage to KISS, and they are stopped by a stagehand who kicks them out. However, the stagehand has a change of heart and discloses to them that KISS will be at a special TV appearance the following day, and the stagehand knows a worker who can get them access to KISS. So the girls are continuing their adventure, and then they make it to the TV taping, and they are spotted by a road manager. And the road manager kicks them out, but before fully kicking them out, he finds out that they actually befriended the stagehand. And he is a friend of the stagehand, the KISS road manager. So he is going to allow the girls to visit KISS backstage, but to continue the adventure, KISS is already left by the time the girls get to their dressing room. And as the girls are leaving the dressing room area, they overhear, I guess, two workers disclosing that KISS will be throwing an after party after their concert later in the day. So the girls discover the hotel that Kiss is staying, and then they go to it, and they are all excited to start the, partying with Kiss. And as they're knocking on the door, the camera is supposed to dissolve, and the two girls are actually sleeping in Ingrid's bedroom. And the whole adventure has just become a dream, and it's just Ingrid's grandmother waking them up. But Ingrid's grandmother does disclose to the two girls that there are 4 gentlemen downstairs waiting to meet the two girls. And the two girls rush downstairs, and the way that the proposal describes it, it reminds me of at the end of the Shandy music video, how the girl says yes, and then Kiss just turns around and looks, and Ace is obviously blitzed out of his mind. That's kind of like how the ending of this proposed movie is set to go. So basically, and in this proposal too, that's what makes it interesting, is there's a lot of facts about why they think that this movie could be a huge hit. And in the proposal, they talk about wanting to get the 8 to 18-year-old members of the Kiss Army. Basically, they were wanting to package this movie as like a back-to-school special. So, and that's kind of like where the idea that it's one long music video is, because it's supposed to be, in the proposal, it talks about how there's going to be roughly like 40 to 45 minutes of Kiss footage, concert footage, and then the rest was all going to be storyline driven scenes, but it was also going to feature new music off the upcoming Kiss album, which would have been Unmasked. So, and it also talks about how they feel like in the proposal that the movie can capture the 20 to 30-year-old demographic because of the quote-unquote hit music that it would have in it. So it seems like they were going to focus heavily on using I Was Made for Loving You in the movie, and then, like I said, using songs from Unmasked and like the storyline scenes. And this was also, again, another quote-unquote to offer an armchair look at the band for families. So this was going to be Hanna-Barbera Kiss Part 2, basically. And it also seemed like, in the proposal that they had also talked about the European and Australia market, and in the proposal it states that the European audience has never been stronger. And then it talks about the box office for Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park was released as a theatrical release through Avco Embassy Pictures, and it would gross $900,000 at the box office for Holland, Germany, and Australia, those markets. And after this, the proposal, and I'm looking right at it too, so I'm kind of reading off of it. It says that so basically the film was scheduled to take place between the filming was scheduled to take place between April 15th, 1980 and August 15th, 1980. And basically this was going to focus around the May/June Kiss concert tour. And they were really wanting it filmed during this time, like I said, so they could promote it as like this back-to-school special movie for the Kiss Army. And in the headquarters for the film were set in Amsterdam, and then Holland was going to be used as like a primary filming location, basically because it seemed like it was the most westernized country in the area, and it just had a familiar look and feel for American audiences. And it was also picked too because Kiss had two scheduled tour dates in Holland, and those were May 5th and May 6th of 1980. And in the proposal, there's a quote saying that Kiss were only going to be scheduled to work in makeup for 2 days, and they could have the 2 makeup days filmed during this time in Holland. And it looks like John Goodhue was the producer, director, writer for the movie. Jack Churchill, who I think he did an ABBA special, I'm not entirely sure, I think I read that somewhere, was the director of photography, and Richard D. was the screenwriter for the film. The film was going to be filmed in 16mm color negative, and this was basically used to save costs, and if a theatrical release were going to happen, transferring the 16mm footage to a 35mm film reel, it wouldn't lose that much quality, is what it says in the proposal. Something that I found interesting too was the live footage during this time for the on-stage parts of the movie was going to be filmed using 6 cameras and a 24-track audio recorder. And basically the film crew hoped that the mixing of these concert tracks could be produced by the producer of the current Kiss album, who would be Vinnie Poncier, and he would also produce Unmasked as well. So it's just interesting to note that they were planning on using him for these live sections. And again, to save costs again, the film crew were going to use European actors, and the role of Claudia would be cast in America and then brought to Europe whenever the time was needed. And also, one of the things that I highlighted is the proposal mentions that none of the actors need to be known actors, though prior experience is preferred. It just kind of seems like they were going to rush things out and didn't really care about the quality. You'll just see that this was basically just hoping to be a big commercial for Unmasked. And basically, that's what it is, or what the proposal was planning, is just make it for as cheap as possible and then extort it for as much as possible. It talks about them having a U.S. network TV deal and then releasing it on beta and VHS, and then having some outside market theatrical releases. And we all know, and also it talks about the movie would also promote the upcoming U.S. tour of Unmasked in 1980, which didn't happen. There was only one show in America for the Unmasked tour, and that was at the Palladium to introduce Eric Carr. And I believe that was July 25th of 1980. And basically, it's unique to see this proposal and then see just how much hope Kiss had about going further than Dynasty. Dynasty was a big seller, but it also kind of killed Kiss in the live market. I know they were planning on having multiple stages for Dynasty in order to meet a demand which wasn't there, and it seems like this film is trying to meet a demand that isn't there. So what kind of impact does this film have? To me, this film just screams Unmasked. And obviously, the name Behind the Mask of Kiss, they would later use that, almost that name, Behind the Mask, for their autobiography that would come out many years later. But the main thing that I've noticed is the Shandy music video almost seems to be like a very, 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 very watered down version of this proposed movie. I mean, you have the girl who is kind of stalking Kiss to try to see them unmasked, and then the ending of the music video and the ending of the movie are kind of one and the same. And even the girl in the Shandy music video bears a striking resemblance to Claudia, kind of her description. At least in my view, I can definitely see the girl in the Shandy music video, if I didn't think her name was Shandy, being Claudia. Also, I just feel like hearing this now, I can look at Unmasked and then see like Unmasked being the film score for this movie. I mean, at the start of the proposal, Claudia is in school, and Is That You was talking about basically being in high school, and I could see those going one and the same. And then just like Naked City playing, and these two girls are just like running around the town at night, trying to avoid trouble. I could even see like Torpedo Girl being used, and like the girls are like in a water area, and like a villain or somebody who's chasing them's like falling in water. Just silly stuff like that. I mean, you can look at every song on Unmasked, I think, and then read this proposal and then kind of like just put a mental image in your head of what this film could have been and might have been. So I cannot stress enough how fascinating this proposal is to read. Please go read it, and then even come back to the podcast and listen to my take on it, and then see if you have a similar feel or anything. This definitely had an impact, I think. It seems like in the late 70s, early 80s, Kiss was toying with Unmasked and Behind the Mask of. They were definitely trying to tease that they were going to take off their makeup without taking off their makeup. That would come a few years later. But it's just interesting how this proposal comes, and then Unmasked is called Unmasked. And I just feel like they were hoping Unmasked would be this huge thing that it wasn't going to be, and it was going to have all of this behind it, and then they just see like the hopefulness of Kiss at the start of the Dynasty tour, and until they get to Australia for the Unmasked tour, where they're just the Beatles made over. During that time frame, the high that they have and then seemingly the low that they have is just endlessly fascinating. And this proposal just gives you kind of a behind the scenes look at that. So definitely, once again, go check it out. It's on Kiss FAQ. It is under the Historic Documents board. And go ahead and read that. And then go on Tumblr and read the blog that I have about this. Those are kind of my notes for this podcast. Go find Sweetbit Radio on Instagram. Like us. I post Kiss related and other music related things 3 to 5 times a week, and then the blog happens once a week. Trying to make that happen now, and then this podcast happens once a week. And before we go, I think that we have a message from Paul Stanley, and that is for all of you on this Memorial Day weekend. And hold on one second and let me get Paul Stanley's message for all of you ready. Are you ready? All right.
If anybody's going to be drinking tonight, make sure you got somebody to drive you home.
That is from Paul Stanley himself. If anybody's going to be drinking tonight, oh yeah, make sure you got somebody to drive you home on this Memorial Day weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. And like I always say, that's it for this sweet bit.